Can you talk about strategies for getting most on-track benefit from sim racing practice? What to work on in the sim, in a simulator that will help in the car, and where is the sim leading you astray? That's a really good question, kind of the second part especially. I look at the use of a simulator, and by the way, I mean, simulators, there's a broad range there, right? You know, there are, you know, there's a fairly simple setup with, you know, Xbox or PlayStation, with Forza or Gran Turismo, a fairly simple steering wheel and pedals, and a TV monitor, whatever, right? And the upper end of that are full motion simulators. I think the real the real benefit is, so first of all, I look at it as you can use a simulator for learning tracks, and that's what I would say most drivers use a simulator for, is the learning which way the track goes and kind of the subtleties of the track and picking up some reference points, and that's super important, you know. So that's a big part of using a simulator. The second part, and I'm going to say more important than learning the track, is practicing technique. And you know, one of the things that I recommend, if you're on your own with a simulator, one of the things that you do is that you take a video camera or set up your smartphone on video and, you know, point it over your shoulder for a while and take video of you turning the steering wheel. Take that camera or smartphone and put it down so it's focused on your feet, and take video of your feet, and then replay that afterwards and watch how your feet and hands are working. So, you know, one of the things you want to watch for is, you know, are you going on the gas pedal and then coming off and then going to the brake, or is it off the brake or off the throttle and immediately onto the brakes? So, you know, those kinds of things, those kinds of techniques, you know, if you can show, if you can have that show up on the video, you can start to fine-tune some of your driving technique. What'll happen is, you know, a lot of times I will watch somebody on a simulator, video or live, and immediately, like, you know, I'll just watch their feet more than I watch the screen of where they're driving. And, you know, I'll watch their feet and their hands and going, there's a, it's the movement of the feet and the hands are not coordinated enough. And if you watch your video of yourself, you know, again, having your camera mounted here so you can see your hands and your feet, there's a lot of value in that. So that part of working on the technique, watching, looking for your brake release being smooth, your throttle application, that kind of thing. And, you know, more and more data systems, or more and more sim platforms, you can use data systems. So afterwards you can use data to analyze what you were doing, and kind of two benefits there. One is you improve your driving, but the second part is you learn how to use data with your simulator as well. And then the final, not the final, but you know, maybe the third part here of using a simulator is to train your brain, and, you know, to really work on the mental game. And, you know, one of the things that probably the most popular response when asked the question, what's the biggest challenge you have mentally with your driving? It's maintaining focus. And one of the things, if you get on a simulator and you can only do 2 laps before your mind kind of goes, oh, look, a squirrel, you know, you're losing focus, and you're actually practicing losing focus. But one of the things that you can do is build a little trigger around, you know, the phrase eyes up, look ahead, for example. So you're in your simulator, you're driving, and you find yourself starting to lose your focus. You go eyes up, look ahead, and then you practice getting back focused again. So you use the simulator to practice your mental game in terms of regaining focus. The other part of that is, you know, being able to turn consistent laps, and, you know, just be methodical in your ways to be able to be, being able to go on there and just be able to do lap after lap after lap of consistent lap time. And the other part of that is, one of the things that I've done a lot is I will get in my simulator, I will drive it for 3-4 laps, and then, like, that third or fourth lap has to be my fastest. I get up, I walk around, I go do something, I come back, hop in the simulator, and I drive 3 or 4 laps. And that third or fourth lap, again, has to be my fastest. So that what I'm practicing is getting up to speed quickly, rather than this, I'm going to take 6, 8, 10 laps to kind of gradually build up to speed. the fast mental program, you can practice that on your simulator. I've also done some things on a simulator, with drivers prior to an endurance race, where I will have them, I'll run scenarios of, hey, you can't use fourth gear now. So you've got to learn how to adapt and drive around not being able to use fourth gear. You can use third gear, you can use fifth gear, but you can't use fourth gear. So when you finally get in a race, you feel like, man, I can adapt to anything. So there's a lot of things there. So I think a simulator, like I said, for the track, it's obviously very easy to use it for that, and then for your technique, and then the mental game. You asked, the second part of your question was, where can simulators kind of lead you astray? And so I had an email from somebody a few weeks ago, and he was saying he and a buddy do a lot of sim racing together, and his buddy was saying that if you come out of the corner, just hold your foot flat to the floor as you come out of the past the apex. Just hold your foot flat to the floor, and if you're about to run off the road, just squeeze the brakes on with your left foot while you're coming out of the corner, holding your foot flat to the floor. And he's like, well, is that a good thing to practice on a simulator? And I'm going, well, the problem with that is simulators don't overheat the brakes, and real cars do. And if you did that over and over and over and over again, you're going to beat up the brakes on your car. So I think you've got to be realistic about what you can and can't do in the simulator, or what you can't do in the real car that you can in the simulator. I've watched some sim racers, and I mean, most of them are unbelievably fantastic, and they respect the track limits well. But I've seen some who cheat the track limits. They're looking for the ultimate fast lap time, and they'll cut just enough that the game or the platform, the software will let them get away with it. But it's one of those things that if you did that in your car and bounced it over the curb that hard, you'd break something within 5 laps. So you have to be kind of respectful of those kinds of things. And I think that's one of the areas that a simulator can lead you astray a little bit. So, there's obviously some other things that you can maybe get away with on the simulator that you couldn't in your car on the track. But I think if you go back to paying attention to the technique, focusing on how you're using the brakes and the steering wheel and the throttle, and really pay attention, that you're not going to get led astray there. So.